Thank you for tuning in to the Manifest Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Salima Pasha. I'm an executive wellness coach and mindfulness workshop facilitator. I help women and public service leaders go from drained to reclaimed. So work with me to stop stress and beat burnout so that you can advance. On this podcast, I bring to you guests who are masters in their space of health and wellness and business. And I am so happy today to bring you the esteemed Kenneth Johnson of Breathe 360. He is a husband, father, martial artist, motivational speaker. He's trained hundreds of people to get their wellness in order, and he also helps entrepreneurs. So I want Kenneth to tell you a little bit about himself and what inspired him to become the person he is today. What makes him so unique, he is a plant-based vegan. He's also a fitness trainer, and he actually walks the talk with being very fit and able to do a lot of feats at over 50 years old. So Kenneth, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to help other people. How did you develop Breathe 360 and some other projects that you're working on?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on your podcast. And it started a very long time ago. I was 8 years young, a little kid. And my parents had moved from New York City to South Carolina. So I grew up on the farm. And what inspired me was I had a cousin that played football in college. And I heard how my parents, my aunts were talking about him. His name was Michael, by the way. Played football in college, had big muscles. And I said to myself, wow, I want big muscles like him one day. And so that set everything off. So growing up in the country on a farm, you had a lot of space, a lot of things you just turn into weights. So I never knew what weights looked like. I just started doing what I saw my cousins do, which was called calisthenics. And what that was is building your body with your body, no equipment, nothing at all. So I just started doing with push-ups and crunches, sit-ups, and things that I felt like made me feel like I was doing something. And I would do this over and over again until I felt this burning sensation in my muscles. So I didn't know what was going on, didn't really understand it, but I knew something must be happening because I feel this burn and I'm sweating, right? And I feel I gotta have a little pump going on. So it's something I did every single day. And I loved how it made me feel. Right. I loved the feeling of my body like being awakened, being alive. And like I said, I was 8 years young. After a while, my mother saw how much I loved this exercise. She bought me my first weight set when I was 16. So she bought me back then the weights was made like with plastic and cement. So she bought me a plastic cement weight set when I was 16 years young, and I started lifting that every single day. I'd come home from school, I lifted every single day. Eventually, I found at my grandparents' house an old-fashioned bench, right? Sort of like the benches you see at the gyms today. But this was like benches, a homemade bench put together with wood and bars. And it was at my grandparents' house. And we just happened to live what's called down the dirt road from my grandparents. So it wasn't far to travel. It was a dirt road. And I said to myself, you know what? Granddaddy don't need this. So I dragged the bench up to my house and I put it in my front yard. And I took those weights that my mother bought for me and I put it up on the bench. And every day after school, I would come home and I would do what's called a bench press, lifting weights. You always find me outside lifting weights. And that just became part of my lifestyle. I never really felt that I could make this a business. I just knew it was something that I loved to do for myself personally, right? And I saw the results I was getting from it. In high school, I was on the weightlifting team. When I graduated high school, I became a personal trainer. Skipping ahead, years later, I saw an article in the newspaper saying, become a personal trainer. And then it's amazing how ignorant you can be at times. When I saw that article, I said, wow, I can get paid for this. So then I pursued that. And long story short, I love what it allowed me to do. It allowed me now to help people with something I've been passionate about all of my life. So I was able to help them get results, and transfer my emotion and my passion for onto them to help them push themselves even harder to whether they want to lose weight or gain more muscle or feel better or look better in and out of their clothes, whatever the case is. And I love that. I love that passion. And that was something I did for free for many years. There was a point in my life where I would just, hey, Kenneth, can you train me? Can you show me how to do this? And I would just start training people, no charge, no fee, simply because I love to do it. But now I could be paid for it. And it was opened up a whole different perspective for me as far as using a hobby now and turning it into a business. So I worked at gyms for several years. And then I got the bug to start training outside because one of my clients who would come to the gym and I was training with the gyms asked me, Kenneth, do you train anybody outside the gym? And at that point, I didn't. But when she asked me that question, I said, yes, I do. I do outside training. Because now I knew there was a need. And she asked me that question. So I said to myself, this is something I have to pursue. And I started pursuing and finding clients outside. And eventually, I realized that I could do something that I loved, get paid to do it, and set my own hours. So eventually I left the gym and I started training people outside of the gym. And some of the people I was training were very, very well. Let me kind of give you some background on this. I lived in New York and I trained people back then in what was considered the third wealthiest county in the country. And so the people that I was training were some very influential and wealthy people. And at the time I wasn't, you can be ignorant about a lot of things. I didn't know, I just knew this was somebody I was training. And then they started inviting me out to the homes. And one of the people that I trained, his name is Joe Greenblatt. Joe Greenblatt is probably considered one of the best, most successful investors next to Warren Buffett. And he was also spoken about in Forbes magazine. So he invited me out to his house. I trained his wife, trained him, and opened up doors to more opportunities. Because I met his friends, I met his people he associated with, and they introduced me. And next thing I knew, I was training multimillionaires, and coming to the houses, training the wives, like training the children. And I said, wow, I can really turn this to something major, a huge lifestyle. And it started with that passion as a child when I was 8 years young. So as a result of doing this for all these decades, I've been featured in 6 magazines, one magazine called Black Men Magazine, which is a national men's magazine. I've been featured on television, on the radio. I've written articles for magazines based on health and wellness, foods to eat, what foods can you eat? If you're on the go, what's the best foods to eat? So I've written articles for magazines, and I've helped a lot of people not only get healthier, lose weight, build lean muscle, but at the same time, get off of medication, right? Get off of blood pressure meds, get off of diabetes meds, give them more hope when they probably lost some hope, right? And more than that, they call me coach. Hey, coach, I need your help, because I'm always coaching them, right? I never let a person give up on themselves, right? If you make a commitment to me, I'm going to commit to you. And that's pretty much kind of leapfrogged me into starting a business called Tag Team Unlimited Enterprises, which is one that me and my wife we own the business, but it offers us an opportunity to do so many things. We coach, we train, we consult, we use different types of products like CMOS gels, flat tummy detox teas, weight loss sprays, all types of products, and we utilize it all to help people win. And that's pretty much it, you
Mhm.
know. And by the grace of God, I've been blessed to be able to do this successfully and lead the way by showing and breaking a myth, the myth that people say, oh, I'm too old to do this, I'm too old to do that. And I use myself as an example. I'm 54 years young,
Mhm.
and look what I can do. And if I can do this, I can show you exactly how to do exactly the same thing. Just have that desire to do it and make a commitment to it. And you can be healthy for a very long period of time and have full strength.
That's amazing. I know you had mentioned that your wife was a registered nurse, right? And
Right,
then she
right,
joined you in the business. Can you
right,
tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of even further fueled your success? And
right. Yes, she's the first job she's ever had was a nurse right out of school. Right. She became a nurse, and we met. It's kind of funny how we met. Uh I was also a published fitness model, right? Like I said, in several magazines. So I met her over the internet, over MySpace, when MySpace was popular back then. Yes, that was back in the days, MySpace. And it was funny because I met her, and she wanted me to train her virtually online. So I trained her and her sister virtually in like 3 days a week. Then eventually I had an opportunity to fly down. I was in New York at the time. A photographer flew me down to Florida. He wanted to do a photo shoot. So when I came to Florida, um, I fell in love with the weather, with the climate, and of course she was here. And then, pretty much, long story short, I never went back to New York. I'm still in Florida right now to this day. But yeah, she was a nurse, and for many years, um, she's been working with people who had cancer, right? Had major illnesses, and she would befriend these people, and after a while, in her own words, they would eventually wind up dying. And that was a real pull at her every single day. Now, during that time, I was vegan. So she would come home from work and look at me, and she would ask me, what do you eat? I never see you eat anything. Because at that time, I was doing smoothies. I was doing like 4 smoothies a day. But that impacted her because she would go to work, see these people, sick people who, come back home and see me just either doing smoothies or doing this, some vegan, not stop eating chicken, stop eating the whole 9 yards. And she said, wow, you look like you're getting younger. Your skin's changing. And that caught her attention. And then something clicked inside of her. I never really pushed this on her, but she got tired of seeing and dealing with sickness and passing medication, passing pills. And here I was preaching and talking about you don't need medication, you don't need pharmaceutical drugs, you can do everything naturally. God had already put things in this earth on the planet for it to heal our bodies. So now it was an inner conflict between what she's doing at work and what she's hearing and seeing with her own eyes. And long story short, she left that career. She left the career. A tragedy had happened that kind of stimulated that. Her son, her only son at that time, this a earlier relationship, earlier marriage, had gotten murdered. He was 19 years old, and he got murdered December 26th. And of course, I helped raise him since he was 9. So it hit both of us very, very hard. And I'm encouraging her, kind of keep her spirits up. And she had taken some days off from nursing. At that point, she was doing a lot what's called agency work. And I guess she took off too many days, and they fired her. But here's what she said. At that point, we started selling something called flat tummy tea. She said, baby, we got to make this work. Because she had, at that point, based on the tragedy and based on everything she saw in the medical industry, she decided never to go back to that. She wanted to do things the natural way, right? Because she had seen enough, heard enough to believe it, and saw what I was doing. And we started Tag Team Fitness. And we started with one product. It was 1 gallon of our detox tea. And she took everything, all the knowledge she had from her nursing career, and used that knowledge combined with what I was doing as a coach, as a trainer, and we put that together and we made it work. Right? She already knew what medications, what type of, if a person say I'm on blood pressure meds, she asked what meds you taking. She knew all the terminology that I didn't know. Right? So it worked. Hey, baby, I got somebody who's doing this. Okay, they're taking this. Then once she tells me what it's for, then I say, okay, then I would research it. If I didn't know, I would research it. Okay, they need to take more vitamin D3. They need to get more sunlight, whatever. They need to drink more water, drink more juices, green juices. They need to detox and cleanse. They need more nutrients and cut out more meats and add more green leafy vegetables. So now it kind of worked together because I would piggyback off of her knowledge in the medical field. And then if she had a client, I had a patient that was on certain types of meds, she would ask me, baby, what this person is taking this for cancer. This person is taking this for kidney issues. What should they do? So now we're feeding off of each other. And now we just came together and using her knowledge and my knowledge, we gelled it together. And now we go out into the community. We do it virtually. And with her nursing background, now she does this full time. She's a holistic coach, holistic practitioner. She does this full time. And she made a powerful statement a couple of days ago. She said she went from passing meds to getting people off of meds. And this is her, she feels that this is her destiny. And I thank God that we're able to do something together, the same mindset, to help people win without having any pharmaceutical drugs, knowing everything the natural way.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I just got chills and just like, this is her destiny. That's so beautiful. How did you become a vegan? What inspired you to become a vegan? And was there a transition period for you? Or did you just one day wake up and say, I'm a vegan?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, that happened in two different parts of my life. Back in 1996, I lived in New York at the time, and I was not a vegan back then, but I had a business person, somebody I met somewhere, and he was in Amway, a company called Amway. And I invited him over to my house. He wanted to show me a presentation, but he mentioned to me that he was a vegan. And I'm like, vegan? I never heard that term before. I didn't know what a vegan was. And he asked, I offered him a glass of water. He said, sure. So I gave him a glass of water from the faucet. And he drank the water. He said, oh, I can taste that metallic taste. So I'm like, metallic taste? I've been drinking this water every single day. It just tastes like water to me, but he was a vegan. And when he told me, he kind of explained to me what a vegan was: no meat, no fish, no eggs, no dairy. And that stuck with me. So after the presentation, when he left, I said, wow, I started thinking. I said, maybe I should give this vegan thing a shot. So in 1996, I said, well, I'm not eating pork. I'm not eating fish. I'm not eating chicken. Well, I was eating chicken. I said, let me cut out all the chicken and see if I can do this vegan thing. Right? So I gave it a shot. And I lasted all 2 weeks, because what happened was I wasn't a trainer back then. I wasn't doing any deep research. I didn't know where to get my protein from. Like a lot of people, when they first become vegan, where do I get my protein from? Or where to get my vitamin B12 from, right? So because I didn't have this knowledge, after about 2 weeks, I went back to eating fish. I went back to eating chicken. So let's skip ahead. That vegan thing back then went out the window, but it always stuck with me because he planted that seed. When I moved to Florida, I was watching a YouTube video, and there was this woman named Annette Larkins. Annette Larkins is a Black woman who lives right here in Florida, and she was being interviewed by an anchor person. And the anchor person gave us a leading question. She asked, can you guess this woman's age? So I looked at the woman. My wife was with me, looked at the woman also. And I said to myself, I said, you know what? She looks like she might be in her 40s. My wife said, like she might be in her late 30s, right? And we found out that the lady was 71 years young. That blew me away. It caught my attention. 71. And she looks like she's in her 40s. So I continued to listen, and she described her daily activities, her lifestyle, what she does. She said she's been raw vegan at that point about 25 years of her life. And she said she started out as a vegetarian. She's married. Her and her husband are pretty much the same age. They're both 70, 71, 72, same exact age. And it was that video impacted me so much because they went from showing what she looks like to showing what her husband looks like. Her husband was not a vegan. He had a lot of meats, a lot of dairy, a lot of eggs. And it was like night and day, the comparison. No plastic surgery. This woman had no wrinkles, no fine lines, but her husband looked every bit of his age. He had a big pot belly. He was on blood pressure medication. He was diabetic. He had a cane stick, wore glasses, wrinkled. And he said, yeah, when me and my wife go out to eat, people think my wife is my granddaughter. Or he say, wow, I didn't know you married a younger woman. And they're exactly the same age. So when I saw that, it showed me the power of foods over a period of time, how it ages you or it slows down the aging process. And this is the truth, absolute truth. When I saw that video, because that seed of being vegan was planted in my mind back in 1996, just like that, I went back to being vegan. And I asked myself, why did I ever stop? And in an instant, a blink of an eye, literally, I cut out all animal products, all dairy, all chicken, after watching that video. And there was for me, it wasn't a transition. If the transition was happening, it was a slow transition back from 1996 up until the present, right? Mm-hmm. But that seed was already planted. So I already experienced it a little bit. When I saw that video, no transition at all. I was vegan automatically, and I started out with smoothies. This time I was doing research. Well, I knew smoothies were good. If I got to drink smoothies all day long, I just drink smoothies all day long. And I was doing 4 smoothies a day. And that kind of skipping ahead, that's when my wife asked me, what do you eat? I never see you eat anything. Because I was doing smoothies all the time. And I started researching what foods, what plants are good for energy, what plants are good for skin, what plants are good for muscle building. And I started researching what fruits, what vegetables, all this stuff. It became a science, became something I just dove into fully now at this point. And I started, when I became vegan, before I became vegan, I had health issues. I used to get headaches. I don't really call them health issues, but I had allergies. I had food allergies. I had hay fever. Every season, spring, I'm sneezing, I'm scratching my throat. I got runny, scratching my eyes, my skin. And if I ate beans or peas, it would break me out in hives. So I had a food allergy since I was a child. My mother discovered that when I was a child. Black-eyed peas, pork and beans, I could not have any of that stuff. But here's what happened. After about 3 months in being a vegan, I noticed something. Now I'm in Florida, and during spring, you can literally see the pollen all over the place. You can see it on the cars, on the grass, everything. Normally, when I'm in that environment, I'm sneezing. I'm clearing my throat. My eyes are running. This time I walked outside and I could clearly see all the pollen. And it caught my attention because I said, wow, I'm not sneezing. I'm not clearing my throat. Something had changed. And I asked myself, what did I do differently? And the only thing that changed was my diet. I was complete vegan, full vegan. At that point, raw vegan. And it amazed me because I'm looking at the pollen and I'm like, what? I'm like, wow, this is incredible. So then I asked myself, I wonder if this vegan thing has also changed my food allergy. So I put it to the test. The last thing that broke me out in hives, one of the worst, if you ever had a food allergy, people had a food allergy, it's one of the worst feelings in the world. You don't want to, it's terrible. So the last thing that sent me off to the races was chickpeas, garbanzo beans. So I was by myself at the time. And I had to find out if this plant-based lifestyle has healed my body, so to speak. So I went to the basement in the house. I bought me some chickpeas, some garbanzo beans, and I took a teaspoon, and I prepared myself because I knew once the juice touched my lip, touched my tongue, I knew it was going to happen. But I had to find out. I'm not sneezing anymore. I don't have this hay fever thing at the point anymore. So I took a deep breath. I prepared myself, and I ate the teaspoon and I chewed it. And I'm waiting. And literally the second it touches me, that's it. But this time it didn't happen. So I said, okay, maybe I need to eat some more. I took some more. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not breaking out in hives. Oh my God, I'm not itching. My lips not swelling up. My eyes are not swelling up. So then I ate some black-eyed peas. I ate some pork and beans. Everything that was sent me to the hospital, I had to find out, hey, is this a fluke or is this thing really real? And I ate everything that sent me to the hospital and not a single reaction. I was like, oh my God, this thing is real. The only thing that changed was the vegan diet, the plant-based diet. So I put it to the test. I said, I got clients who have allergies also. Let me see if it works for them. So I took a woman and her daughter who had very bad allergies, she wake up with nosebleeds. And I said, listen, cut out the milk, cut out the soda, cut out this, cut out that. Just go plant-based, just go vegan. They did it. 30 days later, they came for a training session. Her name was Michelle. I said, Michelle, how are the allergies with you and Kayla? And Michelle was like, now that you ask, we haven't experienced that for about a month. And they started about a month ago, and they had no more allergies. And at that point, I became totally absorbed by study, research, using myself as a guinea pig, using my family as a guinea pig to see if these things can really reverse some issues, right? Help with diseases, help with illnesses. And for the last 10 years, almost 12 years, I've used this as medicine to help people get off medication, reverse illnesses, reverse diseases. And as a result, I'm working with a lady right now in the nursing home who the doctors are giving up on. She has colon cancer. They've started giving her chemotherapy. And what we're doing, we got a call actually to come down to the hospital and help her get her life back. And as a result, so far, we've gotten some good results. So this is what we do. This is what I've been doing for almost 12 years now. And my wife also, we use her combined knowledge of medicine and what I've been doing for 12 years, studying and researching and coming together and helping people win.
That's amazing. So tell us how people can reach you and what you're doing now. I know you're training people virtually, you have product. Right. Oh, and I want to know a little bit about Breathe 360 because that seems really unique in another way that you help transform people's lives.
Okay. Well, they can reach me either on Facebook or my number. If they want to email me, they can reach me at virtualfitness360@gmail.com. Hold on over here. Or they can reach me on Facebook, Kenneth Johnson. Or they can also reach me at my business number 386. I actually got two of them, 386-287-2605. That's a direct number. And those are the best ways to connect with me. Now, virtual breakthrough breathing 360, that came about in 2017. I was training with another vegan, and we kind of put together like this little study. He was talking about telomeres. Telomeres is pretty much something science uses to determine the lifespan of a person. The longer your telomeres are, the longer you're going to be alive. The shorter they are, the shorter your lifespan is. So we were doing certain things outside using what's called calisthenics, which is using your own body weight to build your body up. and he was doing a study. And we did things like sauna, heat exposure. Then we started doing cold exposure. Then we're doing breathing exercises. And we were both vegan, so we put all that into the plate. So as a long story short, after doing that for some time, he had his blood work done, his telomeres tested, and it showed that the telomeres actually got longer in length, which is something that typically doesn't happen. As a person gets older, they become shorter. But we were able to actually reverse that and kind of lengthen his telomeres, which was totally mind-boggling. And during that process, he had introduced me to someone named Wim Hof. Now, Wim Hof, he's probably well known right now, but back then nobody knew who this guy was. He's a Dutchman, and I never met him personally, but I watched his videos on YouTube. And he was telling me, Kenneth, this guy does amazing things. He's got like 25 world records, Guinness Book of World Records. And he does this breathing stuff, this breathing exercise. And it's really powerful. So me being a martial artist, I knew a little bit about breathing, but I never experienced this type of breathing in my life. So eventually I took him up on it. I said, let me see what this is all about. And I went through a 6-minute breathing exercise. And this is called the Wim Hof. And when I went through that exercise, it was so mind-blowing. I decided to continue to do it on my own for myself to see my own personal results, combine it with my workouts and stuff like this, what I do. And I saw transformation within my own body a lot faster. So then I'm a person who will take something. If you give me something, I'll take that and I'll expand on it. I'll build off of that, right? So now it's a totally different creation. So I took what I learned from that and I started tweaking it here, adding on there, and I created something totally different as far as the breathing exercise. And I called it Breakthrough Breathing 360 because what it does, it actually breaks through belief systems, break through barriers you might have put in yourself, self-beliefs. It breaks through situations where doctors have no answers for. And let me share this story with you and get a better understanding. There's a guy from Texas. His name is Chris Aquino, Mexican guy, 37 years young, had a 3-year-old son. He was diagnosed with something called polycythemia, which is blood cancer. And the next stage from that is leukemia. So he had one doctor called him in and explained to him what was going on. And the doctor said to him directly, there's nothing else he can do for you. He said, nothing else can do for you. So he said, well, let me get a second opinion. He went to go see another doctor. The doctor told him exactly the same thing. There's nothing else we can do for you. And they started recommending chemotherapy. And somehow he found me on Facebook. And he said, Mr. Johnson, I don't know how I got to your page, but somebody shared your page. And I read your information and you talk a lot about natural foods, natural healing, how you can reverse this stuff. And he said, I believe you might be able to help me. And I asked him, well, when's your next doctor's appointment? He said, it's 9 months from now. I said, if you do everything I tell you to do, your next appointment, you're gonna have a different diagnosis. And he did it because this is a man who literally was gonna die. There's nothing else they could do for him. And he had a 3-year-old son and he was scared. And I had developed this called Breakthrough Breathing 360, which is a combination of breathing. It's a combination of exercises. It's a combination of going fully raw vegan. It's a combination of drinking what's called alkaline water. And later included what's called earthing and grounding. But the most powerful aspect of this is breathing. And I tell the person, well, the hardest thing you will ever do is the breathing exercises. Harder than lifting weights, harder than working out, because the breathing is going to direct every system in the body. So with the breathing exercise, what I did with him, the first session is only a 30-minute session. sit down like a Zoom, just like we are, and I'll walk them through a breathing exercise. It would be 3 rounds of breathing. And at one point during those rounds, you're doing what's called a breath retention. You're not breathing at all. So there's no oxygen coming into the body. And I would time these breath retentions, right? Because I know at a certain time, your brain's going to release adrenaline. Because at one point, when there's no oxygen coming to the body, your brain thinks you're dying. So it sends out these emergency signals. Oh God, we got to do something. There's no oxygen, there's no air coming in. And it sends out this huge surge of adrenaline throughout the entire body. And you're not aware of this, but it's surging through your entire body. Your body goes through this chemical change, and every system becomes active, more active, more active. So long story short, he moved from being able to go without breathing for 20 seconds. Now, when a person has cancer, they can't hold the breath that long, right? Because cancer it needs an acidic environment, and it depletes the body of oxygen, depletes the blood of oxygen. So if you're holding your breath, you're not gonna be able to hold it that long because there's no oxygen already in the body. So he went from being able to hold this breath for 20 seconds to being able to hold this breath for 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Now, here's the thing. At 1 minute and 30 seconds of not having any oxygen in the body, that's when your brain starts to panic a little bit. It sends these signals out, this adrenaline, these changes happen inside the body. But you're perfectly normal. You're not even aware this is happening inside your body, but it's happening. So your body becomes more, it has to improve itself. It has to adapt. It has to make changes, or else, if it doesn't, you will die. So his body went through this chemical change. His nervous system became more activated. Every cell in his body was able to manage oxygen more efficiently. It stopped the cancer cells from growing, and it caused them to start dying. 9 months later, this is the person who was pretty much on his deathbed. He reached out to me and said, Mr. Johnson, remember we're doing this program? He said, yeah. He said, listen, I went back to the doctor, and he ran every single test, and he couldn't find cancer anywhere in the body. He said it was like it never even existed. He said the only thing that was high was his cholesterol, because he's Mexican, eats little enchiladas. The doctor told him to lay off, because the enchiladas, but they could not find cancer anywhere in his body. And that was in 2017. He's still alive, cancer-free today. And he went live, did a video testimony, and that proved to me that what I was doing works. That everything that I put together with the food, with the water, with the exercises, with the breathing, everything that I put together works, because outside of everybody else that I helped, I'd never worked with anybody who had cancer. And I asked God, I prayed, send me somebody who has cancer. I want to see if this really, really works, how effective this really is. He was the first person I worked with, and it worked.
Yeah.
And that gave me huge confirmation to continue doing what I'm doing. And I used it with people who had kidney issues, who had fibromyalgia, who had all types of illnesses I never heard of. I asked my wife about it. What is this? What are these meds? And then I would research it. What's the bottom line? What's the underlying cause? And I always found out the underlying cause are pretty much 2 things. It's oxygen or electrical. Oxygen and electricity, the basic things that keeps the person alive. And if I can impact the oxygen, if I can impact the electricity, I can help a person get their life back. And that's what I made my study about. I would study this. What foods are the best for this? What can I do with this? And we've been very successful at it.
That's wonderful. That's amazing. So did he do these breathing exercises every day for 9 months? Or
Yes, he did it every single day. And here's something very interesting. Something happened during he travels. He worked in the crude oil industry. And I researched that. And I looked, this is how I discovered where it might have started from. Crude oil around petroleum can cause a person to develop cancerous cells. So he'd been working in this industry for years, and that's where the blood cancer started from. So, but he did this breathing every single day, but we lost contact after a while because he had to travel a lot. So wherever he went, we lost contact, but he continued to do what I showed him. He continued to do the exercises. He kept the raw vegan diet. He kept doing the breathing exercises, right? He never stopped doing that because he had nothing else. He had nothing else. He either do this or he knew he was going to die and leave his young son behind. So he continued, and then he reached out to me through a text message. And he said, this is what happened. He said, I kept doing it, went back to the doctor. They found nothing at all. And he went live, gave a live testimony on my, I videotaped it, recorded it, and I posted it on social media. And that's one of the most powerful testimonies I've ever seen. Now, that's the first person who had cancer that I helped. And since that time, I've helped about almost 10 people reverse cancer. Just totally wipe it out. And so right now, kind of like still learning, but becoming an expert in that field, helping people do it naturally and using different techniques. If they don't want any products, I use the breathing exercise, right? If they don't want the breathing exercise, I give them the products. And I find out what plant materials, what plant foods kills cancer, what plant foods reverse kidney issues. And I've been very successful at doing that. But yeah, he did this for the full 9 months and he was cancer-free.
That's wonderful. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for what you do. I know you have another client coming up soon that you're heading off to. We could spend more time talking about this, but I'm going to let you go. I'm going to tell the audience, live a life of purpose with gratitude, visualization, and community. I'll put the information about Kenneth Johnson in the description box. Find out more about me from my website at www.limapasha.com. And I recently released a book called Activate Your Wellness, How Women Leaders Go from Drained to Reclaimed. So follow me and get more information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.